That's what today is. Hello, welcome to the vlog. I hope you're doing well and my book smells. Hello my loves and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we're at the start of another weekly vlog. This weekly vlog, the theme is rest and relaxation. I have the whole week off work. I had to work yesterday, but from Tuesday until Sunday, I have no work. I'm not back at work until Monday next week and I'm so excited. It's so needed. I needed this break and I'm especially pleased that it's happening just before Christmas as well because it gives me that chance to wrap up presents, get the last couple of gifts I need to get, but also just relax in anticipation for that busy period of time. I am an extreme introvert, like extreme. Interacting with people exhausts me, even my own family. Like I live with my moms and they're pretty much used to the fact that I hole up in my room because I do find it so exhausting. Especially the last month I have overworked myself. I have done so much and not stopped, and so this week is going to be the perfect needed break. And of course we're going to get loads of reading done. So tomorrow is the 24-hour readathon, which I'm very excited for and cannot wait. Let me know if you took part and how you found it. It's very relaxed, very chill. There's nothing that you need to like force yourself to do, but I have that tomorrow, so I'm very excited. And then the rest of the week is going to be split between filming a couple of videos, editing them, maybe trying to get some TikToks done, and of course reading. So what am I reading this week? I started 2 books yesterday evening. The first one I picked up is Summer Suns by Lee Mandello, and this I picked up because it was sold to me as a dark academia book. In this one we're following Andrew. Andrew is moving basically back home actually, where something happened in his childhood that you know that's happened, but he does not talk about it, does not want to think about it. But his best friend Eddie, who was going to college there, had put off Andrew following him for a little while until of course Eddie kills himself. And so now Andrew's moved to the town and he is determined to find out what actually happened because he 100% does not believe that Eddie would kill himself ever, and so that's what he's trying to do. I am now up to chapter 6, page 62, and the first 6 pages has just been setting the scene, getting to know Andrew. It is a lot of like fast cars, there's recreational drug use in this, mainly weed so far, but I think Eddie got involved with a lot darker things. You've also got a slight spooky element to this which I'm really invested in. Andrew can see, he calls them haunts, it's basically like ghosts or shades, and he is being haunted by Eddie, which is why he 100% believes that Eddie did not kill himself. So that is the thing that we're trying to solve. It's a bit different to what I was expecting. I think I was just surprised by like the fast car aspect of this. It's just showing a different light to the sort of thing I would normally read. I am intrigued, fascinated with the spooky element of this. Both Andrew and Eddie could see these beings, but Andrew refused to talk about it. Eddie was told that he wasn't allowed to talk about it by Andrew, but when Eddie went away to college, he started investigating it a lot more. Andrew is livid with this when he finds out. He is so angry, feels so betrayed because he was like, I thought we had agreed that we were not talking about this. And as a reader, I can go, actually, no, that was you that forced him, and clearly he wanted to talk about this and find out what was going on. So that's really interesting. I'm really intrigued to see where that part of this book goes, but because Andrew refuses to even acknowledge it, like even things that are happening, like you know as a reader that is going to be the main part of what's happened to Eddie, but he refuses to acknowledge it. He thinks no, it's to do with the fact that he got caught up in this rough crowd, and maybe that is part of it, but I think there's more going on, and I think it's going to be slow going because Andrew refuses to acknowledge it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna read this one on my lunch breaks and that will keep me busy throughout the week. Obviously I won't be reading it tomorrow because that is separate books. And then the other book I started, I only just about started this one, and that is The Way of Kings Part 1. So I literally got up to technically chapter 1 but before that you have the introduction. It's kind of like an introduction, it's a prologue, and then you get another prologue that's set 4,500 years later. I really like this, even though I am only up to page 25. These first few bits really sets the tone for like some of the magic that's involved in this. So this is an epic adult fantasy and it is complex, but I think Brandon Sanderson does it in such an accessible way. So this is a reread for me. This will be the third time that I've read this book and I love it. Even this the first bit, we've followed Seth. Now Seth is someone that is called Truthless. Basically he isn't in control of what he does. Someone was able to take his stone, which basically means that they are able to force him to do whatever he wants. The only thing Zeph's not allowed to do is to harm himself. Otherwise, he has to do whatever his master tells him to do. At this point, he has been told to assassinate a king. There is a lot going on in this world, so I'm just going to give a very brief overview. So we have the Alethi, and they are people that, honestly, if I was to put it in other terms, think of it like England when they were trying to conquer everything. And then you have the Parshendi, and Parshendi, think of it almost like Africa in a way. That is the way that they're treated. That is honestly the correlations that I made when I was reading this book. It's the first time I've noticed it because I think it's the first time I've critically read this book. Honestly, it kind of talks about the whole colonization of everything, how wrong it is, but that's kind of a good way to see that split. But they had come to a peace treaty. However, on the very night that the peace treaty was signed, the Parshendi hired Seth to kill the Alethi king, which sparks about this massive war that spans ages, and that's where part 1 begins, is with that war. So that is what's really interesting, and that set up, and like I say, making those connections to this book, which I just haven't before. But yeah, I'm loving it. One thing I'll say is I don't normally smell books, but this one smells so much. It's an old book, I've had it for ages, but it's also still a bit stale and musty because this is a survivor from a house fire that happened years ago, and every time I pick it up I get a whiff of that and I'm just like, I think I need a new book. I need to get a new copy of this because every time I smell it that's what I think about, and that's not a pleasant memory. So I might treat myself and get myself the copy of this, just a fresh copy. I did start to underline this, but I only did like 2 things, which actually let me do that for you. Just a couple of things I found. So this is Zeth. We're seeing it from Zeth's perspective, and he's thinking as he's having to carry out this mission of assassinating the king. When weapons created to fight nightmares were turned against common soldiers, the lives of men became cheap things indeed. And what he's using is a shard blade. A shard blade is a blade that can cut through anything inorganic. However, as soon as it meets human flesh, it kind of fuzzes and kills their soul. It doesn't actually damage the human body in any way. When one killed with a blade, there was no blood. That seemed like a sign. The shard blade was just a tool. It could not be blamed for the murders. It's just little quotes like that. Brandon Sanderson's such a good author. But that does bring me into Shard Blade and Shard Plate. These are leftovers from previous Radiants, which you get more of in the prelude or prologue that was set 4,500 years ago. I would honestly normally say that this was info dumpy, but it's not. It's done in such a way that just flows so well with the story that it doesn't pull you out. It doesn't feel info dumpy. It's fantastic. So yes, I wouldn't say to start with Brandon Sanderson here, unless of course you like epic fantasy, in which case go for it. But if you're new to fantasy, like adult fantasy, I wouldn't start here, but it is a good book. Oh my god, I really need to get a new book. It smells. It smells so much. Anyway, that's what today is. Hello, welcome to the vlog. I hope you're doing well and my book smells. Anyway, moving on, I'm going to get on with the day. I've got some filming that I want to do and stuff that I've already said that we're going to be doing this week. So I'll catch up with you probably tomorrow morning just to say how much more I got read of these and then start that 24-hour readathon, which I'm so excited for, as I've said. Anyway, I'm going to keep rambling, so I'm gonna go. Good morning. I've had a good day yesterday, which I know I didn't update on here at all for it, but it was the readathon, which will be out before this video, so I'll have it linked below, and it went in an interesting direction. Wasn't quite expecting that, but let me update you with what I did read on Monday. So I have stuck to my plan of reading Summer Suns at lunchtime, obviously apart from yesterday. I got up to chapter 9, page 101. It's still okay. It's still not gripping me loads. Like, I am enjoying reading it, but I do think a half hour is more than enough, and then I'm fine to put it down afterwards. I was talking to my partner about it and he summed it up pretty well. He's like, so basically it's Fast and Furious in a book, and I'm like, yeah, I suppose so, because it does have those fast cars, the hard drugs, and all of this. Also, I thought Andrew and Eddie were a couple. That is what I thought, because that is the vibe it gives off. Apparently no. One of the other characters, Riley, thought they were together from the way that Eddie would speak about Andrew all the time, and Andrew was like, no, we're not like that, and Riley's like, really? But yeah, that's it really. There's not been too much progress that's been made in terms of story or plotline either, but I will continue on with this. Not for today for lunch, because I am meeting my partner for lunch, so I'll probably be continuing on with this tomorrow. It does mess with my page counts of what I planned and will I get it finished in time, but I'm just hoping that I get engrossed and then don't want to put it down at some point. In the evening, I did read more of Way of Kings. I got up to chapter 6, page 91, and I'm just loving this. I'm loving my reread of this. We have met two characters. These are the two main characters that we're following in this first book. So the first one is Kaladin, and Kaladin is my favourite character in this series. I love him so much. I think he's amazing, but we're meeting him and he's just arrived at the Shattered Plains. The Shattered Plains is where the big war is taking place. Remember I said how the Parshendi has hired an assassin to kill the Alethi king? Well, that sparked off a massive war, and that is taking place on the Shattered Plains, and Kaladin has just arrived there, but he's arrived there as a slave. He wasn't a slave, he used to be a soldier. He's very good at it, but certain circumstances have happened that now he is a slave, and you see him really struggling with all of that. I love his character arc in this. You do get past and present with him, so you can see how it's been building, all the things that led up to this point. I just love it. I think it's so good, and it does such a good exploration of depression in this, and it's really, really good. I really love it. And then the second character we have is Shallan, and Shallan is a character who, as the series goes on, I don't like her at all, and that seems to be a general consensus that not many people like her. But she is the daughter of a lesser house that has fallen into disrepair. Nobody knows this though, and it's so important they don't find out, because her father has died and left them with a load of debt collectors to try and deal with, and so Shallan's on a mission to help her family out. She is the youngest of 5 siblings. She's got 4 older brothers, or is it 5 older brothers? I can't remember that bit. And she is setting out to become an apprentice to Jansa. I butchered these names. I am so sorry, but she is the daughter of the king that died. That bit hasn't actually been confirmed yet, so that is why I'm still a bit iffy on it. But anyway, she's going to her to become an apprentice, but with the reality to actually steal something from her to save her family. It is interesting. I like Shallan in this book. I think she is a fun character. She's very witty, but it's just as her character arc improves, it's yeah, it just gets a bit irritating. But that's all to do with stuff that we don't know yet in this book, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm enjoying it. It's good fun. It's easy for me to fall into, and because it's a reread, I don't have to focus loads on it, because, you know, I've read this 3 times now. It's great though, because these books are so long. Like I said, this is only part 1, so the actual whole first book is over 1,000 pages long, and all of them are. I love going back into this and seeing all the little details that I've forgotten about, seeing how other books have linked into this part. It's a whole big thing. The Cosmere is a whole complex thing where all the books in it link up and have little tidbits thrown in that connect all the books together. So we know those are the books that I was already reading. And then yesterday with my readathon, I have 2 books I'm in the middle of. One of them I'm not going to talk about this week because I don't plan on reading it this week, so I'll just save that for a vlog when I do start reading it again. But one I plan on finishing today, which is going to mean that the other 2 books probably don't get finished this week, but that's fine. It is 5 to Survive by Holly Jackson. I'm loving this book so much. This is one where I went, you know what, we're ignoring my TBR. I wasn't feeling it at all, and so I started started this. I'm on chapter 31, page 267, about 130 pages left to go, and I'm so excited to finish it. I have been tabbing it, which you can't. Oh, there we go. See it a little bit there. I've been using green tabs for my suspicions of what I think is going on. Right, so actually let me give you what this book is about. So this is a YA thriller. I'm very much enjoying it. We are following a group of 6 characters as they are going on a road trip. Our main perspective that we're following is Red. Red is a really interesting character and I really enjoy her perspective. She seems very like away with the fairies a lot of the time, not focused on a lot of things, and because you're following her perspective you see her mind flitting from thing to thing to thing, and I think it works really well and makes her really, really interesting. But you also know that she's got other things going on in her life which she's struggling with, but she's trying to just have a nice time with her friends until when they're on the RV they get lost in the middle of nowhere, and then the tyres get shot out and they realise that actually maybe they're not going to make it through the night, and this takes place in one night. So I am up to 4 AM and as you can see I have little notes in here. I've been sticking in notes of my theories and stuff because I believe that this whole shootout that's happening isn't just by chance. Well, we know it's not by chance, but I think there's someone in the RV is a part of this, has been making it so that they went to this specific place, that they specifically got lost in this area, and all because there is a secret that needs to be told. Our characters have been full of tension, they're arguing amongst one another, they are falling apart basically. One of them in particular is a douchebag. So we have Red. Red's best friend is Maddie. Maddie's brother came along with them to supervise them because they're only 17. He is the douchebag. He is horrible. Oliver brought his girlfriend, Rena, along. And then we have Maddie's friend Simon, and Simon brought his friend Arthur, and so that's the group that we've got together, and they are all falling apart. Oliver is horrible. I really don't like him at all. I'm enjoying this book. It's so much fun. I'm so glad I picked it up yesterday. It's definitely a book that I would have finished all of it if it weren't for the fact that I was so tired in the evening. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So definitely going to be finishing this one today, and then I'll get back to the books that I was reading. I'm so excited. I have been underlining, I have been tabbing, I have been annotating in the pages as well as sticking post-it note papers in there to come up with my different theories. I'm not going to go into what they are because this is a new release. It has not been out long at all, but it's one that I'm loving. It's so good. It is so good. I am so happy I picked this up yesterday. It changed the whole mood. It was so worth it. But yeah, that is everything as it is for now. I need to start getting myself ready and maybe read a little bit until my partner comes along and we pop out for lunch. That's the plan. There's not much today. I just need to edit a little bit and that's it. I'm really enjoying this time off. It's been so needed, and I need to let the cat out the room, so that's my cue to go. Well, I finished 5 Survive and I loved it. I had loads of theories going on in this book and they were all completely wrong. I got this so wrong and it's amazing. I did really enjoy this. I do think the very ending of this book didn't hold up to the rest of the book. Like the rest of the book I was loving it, great atmosphere, great tension, the arguments that they were having and stuff. I loved all of that. I do feel the very ending, I don't know, maybe I just wanted something else from it. Not the revelation of who was behind it all and stuff, none of that, because I actually really enjoyed all of that. Thought it was really clever. I think because it ends on this long letter, and the letter, I don't know, I just feel like I could see the reason why it was done. I think it was good, but I also think maybe it was a tad too long. I'm not sure. That's just me being really finicky. Like, there's something I've realised is that I struggle to give books 5 stars lately, as much as I do enjoy them. This would be like if I was to give a star rating, I think this would be like 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. Had such a good time with it. Yeah, loved it. It was excellent, exactly what I needed at the time, and I love this hardcover. Like, how beautiful and yellow this is just fantastic. Like, I prefer this more than the dust jacket. I'll keep the dust jacket on it to keep it protected, but I love this. This is awesome. But yeah, so finished that yesterday, very happy, and I did also read a bit more of The Way of Kings. I'm now up to part 2, chapter 2, page 163, and I am, of course, loving this. I forgot to mention that you do get pages of illustrations, which I really like, because Shalyn is an artist and she has been recording the natural world, and so you get the different illustrations as well as her notations on what the different creatures are, which I think is really helpful because it's just a little bit to add to the information of the world, the different creatures that do get mentioned, and then you can actually visualize them and have some contextual background. If you don't want to read that part, you don't have to. It can just be lovely illustrations, just a little something extra, but I quite like reading them and getting those extra little tidbits of the world that Brandon Sanderson has created. We're now up to the part where Kaladin is part of Bridge 4. As we know, he arrived at the place where the wars are taking place, and then he realises how futile the wars actually are. They don't seem to be fighting each other or trying to avenge what happened to the king. Instead, they're fighting over these crystals, basically, and he's just like, this is ridiculous. And he gets put into Bridge 4, part of these bridge crews that are made up of men that are slaves or basically have broken the law in some way, get shoved into these places, and their job is to literally carry these massive wooden bridges to where they need to fight because the terrain is very rocky, and get shot at by arrows in the process, and they're not allowed to have any armor or anything to protect themselves. It's so depressing, and that's what Branson does really well. As I mentioned, his depiction of depression in this is amazing, and you're seeing Kaladin's slow decline because of the fact that everything's going wrong, and then you are getting his past as well. So we just had a chapter of his past when he was grown up with his father, the fact that his father was a doctor, and he actually knows quite a lot about that. So you get a part from 9 years ago detailing his past. I love this. I think it's so well done. That's one thing each of these books does differently, is focuses on a different character and their past. So the first book is all about Kaladin. So yeah, I didn't read loads of this book, but that was fine because the priority was finishing 5 Survive. But I do need to decide this week whether I just carry on power through this or whether I continue on with Summer Suns, because I was quite happy not to read it for the last 2 days, but it is the shorter book, so I might just do it to get it finished for this week and then carry on with this one over the next 2 weeks because it's just a reread. I don't know. We're going to decide. But today, first of all, I'm taking my little brother bowling. So we're going to do that, have some lunch out, and then of course carry on with the usual editing and getting stuff done for YouTube. But yeah, we'll see whether I actually am any good at bowling. I haven't done it in quite a while, so that's going to be fun. Nice quick update for a change. So I'm going to leave it there instead of rambling for the next 5 minutes making this quick update not very quick at all. So we're going to spare you from that and head off to bowling. Good morning! I actually read just Summer Suns yesterday. I didn't read any more of Way of Kings. I honestly didn't read loads yesterday at all. It was good fun bowling though, although I lost terribly. I was so bad, but it was good fun, and yeah, just had a nice chill day. Didn't really do loads. In the evening I did attempt to read a bit more of Summer Suns. I'm now up to chapter 16, page 185, and I have to admit, I am getting more and more intrigued by this. It's now picking up, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and I feel like I did this book a disservice. So I said at the start how it was going to be really slow going because Andrew just wasn't dealing with the fact that the part that he didn't want to focus on, the whole spooky part to this book, because he's very much like, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to acknowledge its existence and stuff. That is going to be the biggest part in what's happened to Eddie, and Andrew was just refusing to realise that, and I was just like, oh, it's going to be so going because of this. But actually, you know what, I think that's right. If you're in that position and you've got something that you just do not want to even acknowledge, do not want to even give the light of day, of course you're not going to want to talk about it. Of course you're going to want to try and follow every avenue possible first before you get to that bit. That just makes it seem so much more realistic. And yes, you know what, the fast cars side of things, I think that's not me at all, and so when those descriptions come up, I'm not as enthused by them. That doesn't actually matter really, because it's still interesting, and I also really like the look of confronting how you feel about people. So everyone refers to Andrew as Eddie's boyfriend. Everyone. And Andrew's very much like, no, we weren't like that. I was not his boyfriend. Like, he was my everything, but we weren't like that. And I think it's really interesting because you can see that the more people are saying it, the more Andrew's realising these things about himself, and you can see that inner conflict, and I find that really interesting. Now, I don't know how well that is done, like representation wise. I do find it interesting, and it got me thinking about the only other books. So I've read a lot of books with like gay main characters, sapphic, things like that, but they already are firmly established that that's their preference, that's what they like. The only other book that I've read where they were feeling more conflicted is Red, White and Royal Blue, which is a contemporary love story, which I love that book. It's so light and fluffy. But that's where their main character was kind of discovering the fact that he's bisexual and wasn't sure how to feel about this, and he did go through a period of conflict, and I feel like Andrew's at that point where he's just not sure. He's just lost his best friend, his everything, his other half. That is how he refers to him. It's like Eddie was home and he's lost that, and now he's confronted with the fact that everyone assumed that they were in a relationship together, and he is so lost as a character, and I think this book is doing that really, really well. Do I think it feels dark academia right now? No. I don't. Personally, I don't. I think I'm going to do a whole video. I've said this a few times actually, but I really want to do a whole video on what I class as dark academia. Personally, for me, this book doesn't do it yet. Whether it gets to that point, I'm not sure. But I mean, it does have some elements to it, so I can see why people would associate it with dark academia. Again, I'm gonna have to do a whole video on what I find, and I do think that actual dark academia books are so far and few between. We'll hold that thought until I do an actual video on that, which I will get around to doing eventually. I kind of want to read a few more books before I do that video. Tangent aside. Yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. I feel like parts of this could be dark academia, but that would be giving away too much of the book, I personally feel like. And also there hasn't been loads of it, so I'm not sure. But I think at its core, we're just following someone who is so lost, who is just trying to find out what happened to this person that his whole world revolved around, and he's struggling to come to terms with it. And you do have those darker atmospheric bits which are popping up more and more now, which I really enjoy. So yeah, I feel like I was a bit harsh on it straight away, I think because I was expecting something different, and the fast cars, that threw me off. But I don't know, I like it. I am enjoying it. I also feel like I look like I'm wearing some sort of like Victorian pyjamas or something. It's just a shirt. It's not even a shirt, it's like a jumper shirt underneath another jumper because I'm cold, but we're going with it. We're going with it. Anyway, today I have quite a bit I want to do. I've got usual housework stuff of like washing and things, which is like boring. I also have a video I want to film and edit, get that ready. Might as well use the time while I can. And I also need to wrap up Christmas presents. So you're probably going to sit with me while I wrap up some Christmas presents. And yeah, just have another chill one. I've got today and tomorrow off, and then Monday I am back to work, so I'm just enjoying these last couple of days and also trying to get ahead of myself as much as possible with regards to filming and editing. More stuff that you didn't need to know, but I do think I'm going to carry on with Summer Suns today, and if I can I will also fit in The Way of Kings, but I do have my partner. He's coming round later in the evening, which is normally the time I would read that. So it just depends what time he comes over, really, as to what I get read. But again, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go. I am enjoying this book. I feel like I was a bit too harsh on it. And yeah, okay. Let's do things. Ouch. My wrist is sore from bowling, which just shows how terrible I am at that I've got a sore wrist from that, but never mind. I wasn't planning on updating today, so I do look a bit of a mess, but I've just received a parcel. There was a knock at the door and I was like, I'm not expecting anything, and it is for me, so I figured let's turn the camera on and open it up. I can never do these. Okay, well, almost. Okay, this book in the Labyrinth of Drakes, and oh, okay, so there is a note. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, it's from Naomi. Thank you, Naomi. Oh, you did not have to. Oh, she says, Merry Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful time. Oh, thank you so much, Naomi. I hope you have a lovely Christmas. Oh, this is lovely. Oh, this is so nice. Thank you so much. So, as I was showing you, Naomi has got me In the Labyrinth of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent. This is continuing on with the natural history series that I am loving. This is the 4th book, and yeah. So I cannot believe it. Like, look. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. And The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, which is a book that I've been umming and ahhing about for a little while because so many people seem to love it, especially on Book Talk and obviously here on YouTube as well. It has been hyping up. It was originally independently published and then Tor Publishing picked it up and reprinted it. The second book, The Atlas Paradox, has recently come out, and this is meant to be a dark academia book, and we all know I like my dark academia. I'm really intrigued. Apparently it's loads of morally grey characters. So many people really like these books, so I have been eyeing it up. But oh my god, thank you so much. You really didn't have to, and oh my gosh, I hope you have a lovely Christmas as well. This is so thoughtful and so lovely. Thank you so much. Emotions. This is absolutely adorable. Like, thank you. Oh my god. That was lovely. Okay, well, I will probably update you tomorrow morning because I am almost done with Summer Suns. I don't have much left to go. I'm on chapter 25, page 282, planning to finish it tonight, and I'll give you my full thoughts. But safe to say, this book is making me eat my words because I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying this book, so I will give full thoughts tomorrow morning. But yeah, Naomi, thank you. I did finish Summer Suns by Leah Mandello, and I loved it. It was so good, and this is a true example of how having expectations of a book and them not coming true can mean that I don't enjoy it as much, but if I keep giving it that chance, it can surprise me, and this 100% did it. Now with that, as much as it didn't meet my expectations because I was expecting something slightly different, doesn't mean I wasn't enjoying it at the start. I was just a bit taken aback, and I was a bit like, fast cars and drugs and stuff, that's not me. But the spooky elements did keep carrying me through. Once I passed about the 140 page mark, that was it. I was hooked. I really wanted to know more. I thought the themes that this book was dealing with was fantastic, and now that I know the themes more, I can understand the first part of this more, and like I said, the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was done really well. And I think the main flaw with this was my expectation of what a dark academia book is, because the dark academia books that I've read that I classify as dark academia that I've really enjoyed, they follow a main character who is obsessed with the particular topic at hand, which then pushes them or the group to do things which aren't moral at all. It pushes them outside of what is morally acceptable because of their dedication and fanatic obsession with this subject. This book was different because we're following Andrew, really does not care for this subject at all. He is not impressed with it. He does not want to be dabbling in it. If he could, he would leave it all behind. But the reason why he's any way inclined towards it is because he's trying to follow in Eddie's footsteps to find out what happened to him that ultimately led to his death. Because of that different approach to this, it took me by surprise, because I was expecting something that was very deep, enriched of this particular subject that was going to go in depth. Whereas we actually follow Andrew, who wants nothing to do with it and uses fast cars and recreational drugs and stuff as a way to blow steam off of everything that he's having to deal with, plus the fact that he enjoys it. So it was really interesting to see a different way of dark academia being handled. I do think this book is dark academia, but I don't think it falls into the category of, say, if you liked If We Were Villains, this one would be as good as that, because Andrew is not caring about this subject. He doesn't want to know, and he is using this subject as a means to an ends only. He is not obsessed with it, and he does not care for it in the slightest. So that's what I find interesting about this. I do think, I'm gonna have to, again, like I said, do a separate video on dark academia, and this book will be a really interesting one to come up, because this will be like an outlier. I might do like a middle circle pure dark academia, and then books that are around the edge which have the influences which are dark academia, but the main character isn't obsessed with it. I'm gonna have to work out what a way of saying that, because it's just not quite right. But yeah, this book was really good, and I do think it does work with the dark academia, because you do have people that are obsessed and go to that fanatic devotion of this subject, but it's not our main character, and I find that really interesting. It was a really unique way of doing this. Like, I haven't read a book like that, because normally in other books that I've read like that, you'll have the main character who then becomes sucked into the group that has this obsession with the subject and can't find their way out, whereas Andrew is very much like, I am not getting involved, I am using this as a means to an end, and that is it. And it was actually kind of refreshing to see a main character like that, that is very much like, you know what, I know what I like, and I'm here to find out the truth, but that's it. And the fact that he's stuck with that, I found really refreshing. Like, it was actually really interesting. So it surprised me. But also, things that I wanted to talk about in this book, which I really, really liked, is just some of the themes and topics that this book covers, because we are in an elite college university setting. It questions a lot about classism and racism, which I think was really good. Like, there were undertones, and again, Andrew wasn't really paying attention to it, but it is there. There are points with it, and then when it comes to Andrew's attention, he's like, oh, this is what's actually going on. And I thought it was just done really, really well. I really liked those conversations on classism, the elitism of education, and the reality of racism as well in that. And I just found it really interesting to see how the two combined together, and how if you don't have money, then you're looked down upon. And in this particular instance, there was one black student, the difficulties that he's then having to deal with in regards to his professors, and that it just highlights things that are so flawed in our society and yet are still there when it comes to these elite schools. So I found that really, really interesting, as well as the look on sexuality and learning and finding your own sexuality and coming to terms with it and being okay with it, and just, yeah, that exploration. I think this book did a lot of really unique things things, as well as questioning what I see as dark academia. I really, really enjoyed this book. I thought it was fantastic. I'm surprised because when I first went into this, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this or not, but I'm so glad I stuck with it. I did really, really enjoy this one, and like I said, you've been seeing the transformation as I've been reading this book of how much I have enjoyed this one. I do think it's worth a reread, and I would actually like to do a reread where I annotate it and also tab up those different themes I really appreciated in the book. I liked it. It was very, very good. But I haven't read any more of The Way of Kings. I am still on part 2, chapter 2. Page 163. I will be reading more of this next week in next week's vlog, although technically for me it's this week, but never mind. And I am back to work today. I mean, you know what? It's been a lovely week off. It's been so needed. I feel so ready to get back to work. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this weekly reading vlog. I feel like I've been on a journey of discovery of what I like in a book, and I'm really pleased with that. Thank you so much for joining me. I think if you've made it this far, then let's put a car. Put a car emoji in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it that thumbs up, subscribe and comment. Those 3 things are so important to helping this channel grow, so thank you so much. As always, my social media links will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next one.